I'm Terry Foster. I'm a hand and foot and level 3 certified melt instructor. I took my first melt class in 2013 and I've been teaching melt since 2021. I am an above the knee leg amputee and I wear a full prosthetic leg from a birth defect called PFFD, proximal femoral focal deficiency. Say that 3 times fast. So basically I was born without a femur and the foot was amputated and I learned how to walk using a prosthetic leg. And it was in my early 30s that I started having low back pain that progressed. It turned into chronic sciatica that I had for 15 years and had to stop working. After going through all of the medical stuff, it was determined that there was nothing really that could be done but give me pain meds. And so I began searching and seeking. And that was when I stumbled across melt. What I loved about melt, and still do to this day, is that it's so accessible for all abilities. And so I've been able to continue practicing it to manage my pain and to keep moving. So I'm excited to teach you these techniques and I think you're gonna love it. Melt is a self-care technique that's designed to rehydrate fascia. Fascia is the supportive connective tissue that connects and surrounds every muscle, organ, bone, and joint in our bodies. It's seamlessly connected head to toe and skin to bone. There is no separation. And you can think of it like a fluid-based spider web. So fascia relies on fluid to stay healthy, flexible, and supportive. Our fascia gives our joints shock absorption. It keeps our muscles balanced and stable. It keeps our organs tucked back within our bodies. It gives our skin its support and lift. So it's primarily made up of collagen. And I know, I don't need to explain what collagen is. We all know what collagen is. It's what gives us that youthful look, right? Something that we start to lose as we age. So fascia is also a communication highway. It's full of sensory nerves. As we age, we engage in repetitive motion like typing, sports, injury, emotional trauma. Our fascia can become dehydrated. And that dehydration can accumulate in our tissue and it gets sticky, okay? And so what happens is when our fascia gets dehydrated and that dehydration starts to accumulate in our tissue, then we begin to feel pain. So you may already start feeling, even at a young age, start feeling the effects of dehydrated fascia. If you feel stiff and achy when you first get up in the morning, or after you've been sitting for a while, you feel really stiff and then you start moving around and you start to feel better, that's a signal that your body is sending you that you've got some dehydration accumulating in your fascia. And now, because we tend to ignore that, because when we start moving around, we feel better, those early warning signs become a real problem and could lead to chronic pain. So what we do in a melt class is we hydrate our fascia and then move that fluid along. And like I said earlier, fascia is connected head to toe and skin to bone. So anywhere that we work on our body will have a whole body effect. You could have dehydration in your hand and you could feel neck pain. And so that's just something that in class, when we do the techniques, you'll soon figure out where you have that stuck stress, that accumulated dehydrated fascia. Just to give you an example, I don't know what I did with my sponge, but usually I bring to class a dried out sponge, you know, one that's been sitting on your kitchen sink. And when it's dried out and you go to bend it, it's crispy and it doesn't bend and it doesn't go back into shape. Well, you can think of that like dehydrated fascia. And we want that sponge to absorb water and go back into shape, right? which is what we want our fascia to do for us. We go to pick up a pencil. We don't want to get stuck bent over, right? We want to be able to stand back up. And so what we do with the dried out sponge is we run it under the faucet, and the water will start to bead off the dried out sponge. But if we start to squeeze that sponge as we work that fluid into the sponge, it becomes a absorbable, bendable, flexible sponge again. And this is what we do when we melt. So we have our melt tools that we use to encourage hydration in our fascia and get rid of those areas of stuck stress and move that fluid along. I have 2 different classes that I offer. I know what it's like to walk into a class and not be able to participate like everybody else. So it was really important to me that I started a chair melt class. And in chair melt, we focus primarily on the hand and the foot treatments. And as I've already described, those are whole body treatments, even though we're only treating our hands and our feet, and we're able to do that seated at a table. And so what we do is with our hands and our feet, we use these balls, and we'll call these the melt therapy balls. So it has quite a bit of give, because the golden rule of melt is that nothing should hurt. So pain is actually your signal that you're either not ready for that move, or not doing it right, or adding too much pressure. It's your signal to ease back. And so we have our balls that we use for the hand and foot treatments. Even on the floor classes, we will do some hand and foot. The chair melt focuses primarily on hand and feet. And then we have our rollers. And so you'll bring a yoga mat and some water, and I provide the rollers. And our rollers are soft. So even though it looks like foam rolling, it's not foam rolling. Maybe you've used a hard roller in physical therapy or at the gym. The firm rollers are designed to provide blood flow to the muscle. But what we're doing is hydrating fascia. So it's a different goal in mind. And if you've never gone to a melt class, it's going to be something very different. Our approach is gentle. And if you have an injured area, it's actually best to melt around the injured area, maybe even another part of your body that's distant from that injury. And so it's very different from probably anything else you've ever done. So grab your yoga mat and your water, come to class wearing comfortable clothes. We do remove our shoes in class, and I will see you in class.